When we study financial mathematics, we bump into the idea of nominal rates. And we have the upper I and all these symbols and all these complications. The question is, why is this necessary? This whole thing looks like a lot of extra work. Just you tell me the effective rate, and you say this is the rate, and then you have to, that's, for example, if you say that the nominal rate is 12%, you have to know it means if it's compounded monthly, you divide that by 12, so it's 1.01 to the 12th power. That's the effective rate. So the question arises, you just take a calculator, 1.01 to the 12th rate is equal, I'm showing it here in the camera, 1.126. Why can't you just talk like a mensch and say the true rate? It's 1.126 for a year. Why do you have to go so crooked and unclear and say it's 12 but it's compounded, blah blah blah? What is the idea of this whole nonsense? The answer is there is no idea. It's just here because when it's very it's a remnant from a very primitive way of looking, and somehow, just to make the math book thicker and to make your mind think, that's not a bad thing, to challenge your mind, we just leave over this remnants, the antique remnants. What is the antique remnants here? Antique remnants is to get this concept that compounded interest makes things grow. This is the concept that the primitive mind didn't grasp, and the one who grasped it first got so excited about it that he just couldn't stop thinking of it, so he kept on thinking about it. Instead of saying, he said, really it's 12% a year or 10% a year. But then he thought, hey, what does that mean, I get 10% a year? He got a little bit deeper into the thought. Now I give $100 in the bank and I'm earning 10% a year. So for a kid that doesn't think too much, or maybe ourselves also, we don't think too much, we're just like kids, it means that at the end of the year you get 110. Then some guy a little bit smart asked the question, how about if I take out this money in the middle of the year, and a minute later I put back the money in the bank? So let's think. If I take it out, so first of all the guy thought to himself, if I take it out in the middle of the year, if for a full year it's $10, so I get a half year, I get $5. That was the initial thought, I guess. I'm just trying to figure out how human mind works. So then he thought, hello, so now I need to get 5% for the next half a year. I want to get 5% of $105. So he took out a calculator or did it on the paper, and guess what? 105 times 1.05, it's 110.25. So something is very wrong here, the guy thought. Hello, look, if I would leave the money, I would be a nice guy, I wouldn't touch the money, I'd get $110 only. If I take it out and I put it back the same day, I make more money. So here is where all the confusion started. This was like an atom bomb. And then the guy said, no, when we say that I'm giving you 10%, it does not mean 5% for a half a year. Here's the big mistake. It means for a half a year you get 110 to the power of a half. And This is where the idea of compound interest came into effect. This is how the whole process started. That when we say you get for a year $110, so it's not 10% a year and 5% a half a year. It's 10% for a full year, and for a fraction of that you take the root. So if you want to know a half a year, you take 1.1, the square root of that. That's how much interest you get for half a year. So you take 1.1 to the power of 0.5. That's 1.048. That's 4.8% for half a year. A third of a year, you just type in 0.333. Take a look at this. 1.1 is 1.032. That's 3.2%. Not 3.3, 3.2. And if you want to know how much you get for a quarter of a year, you just type in 0.25, 1.1 to the power of 0.25. That's 2.41. Bottom line, you just don't divide the interest. That's babyish. You have to take the power of 1 over the period. So if you want to know how much for a week, you take 1.1 to the power of 1 over 52. In a manner that that number to the 52nd power will be 1.1. So the guy wouldn't gain anything if he takes it out in 1 week, because 1.00 XYZ, he puts it back in, it gets raised every week with 1.00 XYZ, and that to the 52nd power is exactly 1.1. So no matter what he does, his final result will be 1.1. So so this is, if you think about it, it's beautiful and it's nice and it's clear, but somehow people couldn't depart from the old idea that you have to make you somehow feel good. I don't know exactly what. Maybe it's supposed to make the lender feel good. So this ancient idea remained in the textbooks, that there's such a thing that you get 10%, but it's not 10%. They'll give you more than that, because you have to understand that every quarter of a year we give you 2.5%, and then it's compounded. But hello, every quarter of a year 2.5% is also everything is compounded, because if you want to know how much you get for a fifth of a year or a seventh of a year, you must have a rate that includes all of this, and to understand the concept of compounding. So without compounding, there doesn't exist anything. Nothing makes any sense. Nothing is intelligible. So you must get this concept into your mind. You must knock it into your head. Everything is about compound. Everything is about compound. So who needs? It's just here to confuse you. That's it. I just want to make sure people don't think there's any reality behind this. Thank you.